We've reached the time of year where deer hunting takes precedent. I have been in the woods quite a bit. The rut is definitely taking place. I'm writing a rut review for Game and Fish magazine, so really paying attention to what's going on around the Midwest. And I thought this week, since the rut's happening, let's talk to somebody who's going to see it every day. So I reached out to a good old friend from the outdoors industry and some good times had at Aglow conferences back in the day. And he is a outfitter part of the year, and looking forward to talking to him about what he expects to see happen in camp this season. I'm Brandon Butler.
I'm Nathan Shags McLeod.
And I'm Dan Stefanich.
Welcome to the Drifted Outdoors podcast. Well, I think right out of the gate, this is going to come out the Tuesday before the Orange Army hits all the timber here in Missouri. Me being one of them, I'm super stoked. Shout out Damon Spurgeon and his buddy John Rapp getting to hunt down in the St. James area. But Brandon, I was joking with you that you do everything for the clicks. You put yourself in the ER just so you could make a social media post this past week. You want to tell that story?
Well, it's because you harassed me so much about not doing anything for social media. So I was like, what has nobody else done this year? So I thought, well, if I climb 15 feet high up in a cedar tree and start trimming limbs with a handheld chainsaw, and then just go ahead and nick the knuckle and see what happens, and yeah, it worked, man. We got all kinds of comments and likes, and I got 12 stitches for it, but you'll be proud to know I stayed up there and finished the job, arm wrapped around a limb, bleeding down the tree. When I left the woods, it was, there's the wound. It was bleeding pretty good, man. It looked, I was noticing like drops of blood, like I was following my own blood trail as I was making it. But no joke. I mean, I barely nicked my skin, and that chainsaw blade just ripped it open. These things are, not to be messed with. Even the little handheld ones, like we were using. So,
And I think it's just a good reminder for just blind safety as well, because unfortunately here in Columbia, we lost a deer hunter who fell out of a stand already this year, didn't have any type of harness or safety straps, and unfortunately fell to his death. And it's just that reminder of, man, you gotta take precaution when you're out in the woods for sure.
It is easy to get complacent too. I've been hunting for 40 years, and I have to remind myself, safety, tie off, especially with climbing stands. Safety is paramount, and even however many years, guys, still, you don't think about it. So.
Yeah, and it can happen to anybody at any age, but I think we're getting to the age where we still think we're 26, and I'm standing up there 15 feet in a tree, bleeding down the trunk, thinking, what am I doing? Like nobody else around. So you got to start, being a little wiser. That's me talking to myself and, making better decisions out there. And this one cost me a trip to the ER. So bummer.
Well, and even like Dan said, I mean, I'm guilty of it too, that you just start getting complacent. Like it's never happened before. I've done this 1,000 times. I've been higher, or some of those type of things. And it just takes one piece of faulty equipment, one slip, one misstep, and then suddenly you're on your back on the floor on the ground and looking up going, God, I hope nothing's broke. If you're lucky enough. I mean, yeah, you may just never recover. And like you said, Brandon, turning 47, my body can't really take the falls like it could 20 years ago. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, the worst part of the story is I was so sure that I was setting up a stand in like the primo spot that I actually went back and finished the job the next night, got the stand hung, and I hunted it this morning. The wind was perfect. It just all worked out. And I thought, this is definitely going to be my moment. Like it's going to be, cut my thumb off, kill the big buck. I didn't see a deer. And I didn't get to stay in there long because I had to get to work, but I didn't even see a deer. 12 stitches and not even a fawn.
You will.
So
You will.
it
It's
isn't a
I was
primo spot.
it's sometimes I had one put a ladder stand up a couple years ago. Me and another guide. So I guide for an outfitter, and um I had to get it in this spot, and the tree was just fighting us. It just had limbs, and the stand just wasn't. Sometimes they go up real easy, sometimes they go up hard. This one was just fighting us, and my buddy was just like, "Man, we could find another tree." I'm like, "No, we're doing it. We're getting it. Stand is in this tree, like this." And sure enough, as luck has it, my son ended up killed a big 11 pointer, his personal best out of that stand. But sometimes, it's like no matter what, I am gonna put a stand on this tree. So kudos to you, Brandon, for finishing the job.
Yeah, thanks, man. After we left the ER and went to Walmart to buy a new ladder stand to put in that spot. So, and got the job done. The deer didn't cooperate, but like you said, it was only the first day. It was slow this evening as well. The first really slow day I've experienced.
Well,
But
I enjoyed seeing the text that you sent me and Uncle Steve saying you're keeping that tiny little misshapen buck for him to come out to shoot. That one made me laugh.
Well, at this point, he might want to take that serious. I don't have a single picture of a deer to get real excited about. I passed one last week that normally I probably would have shot. It was a good buck. I mean, big enough to put on the wall, but I had other things to do, which can't believe I'm at that place in life. But
Not worth getting elbow deep up in them guts for. Huh?
that's literally what I was thinking when I was like, I'll have to gut it and cut it up, and it's hot outside. Anyways, yeah, I'm just not getting the pictures, and that doesn't mean a big one won't come rolling through at any minute, but it's not like it has been the last few years where there were a few deer I was looking for.
Yeah. And you know what? Just because you're not seeing them on cam, Brandon, doesn't mean they're not there either.
But that's
It's,
right.
to talk to that for a quick second, and again, we probably have 40 to 50 hunters come through our camp every year.
Well, tell
And
everybody real quick what the camp is, where it is.
yep. So Boneyard Outfitters, run by a guy named Jason Johns, good friend of mine. Started the outfitting business in the early 2000s, I think like 2002. So been doing this quite a while. We've got tons of leases, private ground, and we have hunters come from all over the country for bow hunts, gun hunts, muzzleloader. And we have a tremendous repeat business because it's a really cost effective hunt. It's not, we don't have a minimum, which a lot of guys and gals like, and, I say if it's a trophy to you, then take it. We just want, happy hunters. So it's a little different, outfitter in that regard. And I've been hunting there for, I don't know, probably 20 years. And I help Jason with his marketing and to grow the brand and whatnot. Well, what was it, 5 years ago? I had resigned from a corporate gig to go back into freelancing, and he's like, "Hey, you want to guide for me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'll guide." I've been kind of doing that anyway, helping hunters out for years. So so the past few years, I've just been helping them out, just a couple weeks of bow and then gun season, so not the full season. But anyway, so we get a lot of hunters come down, and the thing that I have really seen kind of a trend that's happened, and I would imagine happens with other outfitters too, is everybody wants to see the trail cam pics. Like, what am I going to be hunting? Back in the day when we didn't have, we had trail cams, but it was kind of like, we had to go out and set them. We had to go get the card. We were excited. We didn't know what was going to be on there until we got it and got back to our computer and plugged it in. But
I still do it that way.
I
did it
love
today.
that. I mean, as a guide, I kind of like we like to take advantage of the technology, where they're, feeding our phone and we can kind of just see real time what's going on. But I'm somewhat old school too, Brandon. I like, getting out there and getting the cards out. But yeah, a lot of guys now that are, come to camp are like, "Hey, what's not quite picking out the deer that they want to shoot, but they just like to see what's there, you know.
So
And
where is
uh,
your outfitter out of? Where are you guys doing these hunts?
well, so it's boneyardoutfitters.com, and it's in Southern Illinois. It's down near Rend Lake. Brandon, you may be familiar with
Mhm.
that area.
For sure.
Um, it's just a little bit, we're just south of Mount Vernon, in Benton, Illinois. So it's Franklin County. And yeah, it's a fantastic. We don't get, so many hunters that we, overwhelm the properties, we space them out. And we just get that. We kind of got, if I had to, I'm a marketing guy, Brandon, as you know. So if I had to, like, talk about like who's our hunter, who's the profile of our, our guy and gal, it's that working class people, that, they don't have, 10 grand to spend on a trophy hunt, but they want to go somewhere. They work hard all year, and they want it's a great affordable hunt, and guys and gals got a chance to kill a trophy buck. We usually put 170, couple 180s in the dirt every year, but most of what we take are 140s, 150s, and that's, to some people that's a trophy, that's a personal best. But that goes back to the kinds of hunters that I see. you know I'm like, if it's a trophy to you, then pull the trigger, right?
Mhm.
Like, I just want, I want a happy client. We don't have a minimum, and I don't want people to be nervous they can or can't shoot something. And uh but anyway, back to the trail cams. It's just kind of it's like that's a trend that I've seen, change over these past few years. Is just everybody's just really, really excited to kind of see what we have. But the other thing that I find myself, telling them is that yeah, we have bucks, we kill bucks every year that we don't have one single picture of.
Right.
You guys know this. Some
Yeah.
of them just, they're camera shy, man. I don't know how they do it or how they know it. Maybe they're walking behind the camera, but they're just because we don't have pics doesn't mean they're not there. So, the whole measuring our deer herd, based on, photo proof, you just gotta, we just gotta take that with a
Yeah.
grain of salt.
Well,
We as
man,
there's everybody,
the oh shit moment is what we're out there for. Like the surprise element is so important. And I think when you get too um close to a deer, like I had a deer lived on my property that couldn't get killed because we're in a 4 point zone, and he was a 6 pointer. This is the biggest 6 pointer I've ever seen. And he just walked around like a dog out there. Like he hadn't been bothered his whole life. He died a 6 pointer somewhere. We've got sheds from him from a couple of years.
He
I
was
mean,
massive.
yeah. And when they get complacent like that, it's just and that's what happens on some of those big giant places where they're killing trophies. Those deer are just coerced into an easier life. So at the boneyard, you're killing hard-earned deer, and I like that.
100% free range.
Yep.
We've got leases, all over the county. We had, 2 years ago, we had a guy killed a buck that was on a trail cam the night before on one of our farms 3 miles away. So, now that was rut. They're
Yeah.
covering, and same thing. We've, to my earlier point, we shoot deer that nobody's ever seen. They're just out chasing. They're chasing hard. They're out of their home range, if you will. And that's kind of what's exciting about hunting the rut too. To your point.
So in Illinois, for non-residents, you have to draw a license. I mean, you have to apply and draw. I mean, I can't just go to Walmart today and come hunt with you this year, can I?
You can, but after a certain date. So we hunt on Illinois is a quota system per county. Like Minnesota is like per, hunt area. They
Mhm.
allow so many permits. Illinois does the same thing per county. So they allow so many firearm buck tags and so many firearm doe tags. All right, for each county. And there's a lottery. So as a non-resident, I'm a non-resident too. I moved to Minnesota a few years ago from Illinois, but you apply into a lottery system.
Right.
You draw a tag, they mail it to you, and then you've got your tags. In October, I want to say it's probably, I think it's like the second Tuesday of October. They open it up to over the counter to any unfilled, any tags that are still available per
Mhm.
county can be purchased over the counter. So Brandon Butler could go to Walmart, in Benton, Illinois, and if there's tags left for that county, you could buy one.
Well,
And
are there tags left?
probably not. It just because they go pretty
Yeah.
quick.
Right.
The over the counter. But again, like you know, as
So the point being
outfitters,
is you got to, as a non-resident, you got to get in the lottery. If
yes,
we wanted to go hunt with you, the
yes,
smart thing to do is get in the lottery. And
correct.
that's different for people in Missouri, people in Indiana. You don't have to do that. So Illinois, Iowa, and that's part of the non-resident fights we're hearing kind of pop up all over the region now. It's like, well, they can come over here and hunt every year, but we can't go over there and hunt. And it's starting to cause controversy.
Yeah. But Illinois is a state that there's no outfitter licenses. So as outfitters, we can't buy and then give them to our hunters. Like
Right.
you guys are going to come hunt at the boneyard, you need to apply, get your tags, and then we book you. So, but I've
But the
never the lottery. It's very, very generous. I mean, I've been hunting. Going to show my age here, but I think since the late '70s is when I started drawing deer tags on as a little kid with my dad. Lottery system. I have never been denied. I have never not gotten one. So there's a lot of deer. The herds are healthy. Illinois is it's a hot spot for trophy hunts and outfitters, but the whole Midwest is like that. Missouri's
Oh
got
yeah.
giant deer. Iowa's got giant deer. Indiana, oddly, I I think I don't know what happened, but just maybe 10, 15 years ago, I feel like Illinois kind of got sensationalized somehow by that Golden Triangle area, which
Oh
where
yeah,
I went to
Pike
college.
County did
Pike,
for sure. Yeah, Pike.
Pike. Yep.
Well, there's a few regions in the country that happened to. The Milk River in Montana, the Realtree team blew that up,
Yep.
and then all those shows started hammering on Iowa with Lakoski's and some of those other shows, and then Illinois got hammered in Pike County. I
Yep.
drive through Pike County sometimes when I get off. What's that? Oh, Pittsfield.
Yep.
So when I'm going from where I live now back to Northwest Indiana,
Mhm.
I'll go through Pittsfield sometimes.
Yeah. So Macomb is where I hunted for 22 years. I went to Western Illinois University is where I went to college, and that's where I had this the old dean of applied sciences there had 90 acres, and he let me hunt. I was a college kid, and he's like, "Hey, just take care of the place." And I took the guy, a turkey at Thanksgiving and a ham at Easter, and that was it. That was back in the day when
Yep.
a handshake and you knock on doors and guys would let you hunt. But then I saw that start to change over the years too. After I graduated, we'd go down there to hunt and, stay in hotels and you start seeing license plates from, Georgia, North Carolina, New Jersey, like, kind of once the word got out, and that's when outfitters just really started popping up. Now that whole area you can't. I mean, it's all locked up in hunt leases, or people buy it, for private use too. But I just saw that change really started back in the 90s, and
Oh, for sure, man. I had a four-wheeler and I could anywhere I could ride that four-wheeler to, I could hunt. Any house that I knocked on the door, because we lived out where many people lived on 10 and 20 acres around big farms. And so those 10 and 20 acre places would become little honey holes. And anywhere I could ride my four-wheeler, those people would let me hunt. and it's locked up now, like you said. But I actually asked for permission to hunt a place yesterday, and got it on the handshake deal. About 400 acres, only person on it,
Wow.
close to work, so I can like hunt for 2 hours in the morning and then hunt for like 2 hours in the evening, maybe. So pretty
That's
solid. Pretty solid.
jackpot.
Yeah, I
Oh,
made that
oh.
call. I felt like I was 12 again. I was so nervous. I was like,
Yeah.
so maybe I was
Voice
wondering
cracking. Oh,
if,
excuse me,
yeah,
sir.
if you wouldn't mind, maybe I could, you know. And he's like, of course. So
So how many hunters do you get each season at the boneyard? Then you kind of tease that it's not a huge amount, but
I'd say, yeah, probably 40 to 50. You know, we start our bow hunts around, late October into November. November's really our month to shine. You're hunting pre-ruts, heart of the rut. And then Illinois gun season is split up into 2 weekends. So it's a 3-day weekend before Thanksgiving, and then there's a break, Thanksgiving week break, and then the weekend after Thanksgiving, the following week, for 4 days. So it's a 7-day gun season. And then the following weekend after that, which is the second weekend of December, is muzzleloader, the 3-day muzzleloader. So it's muzzleloader only, and the firearms. So I want to say we get 14 to 16 gun hunters for each season. And then, this throw in a dart, probably 40 to 50,
right.
like we could take more, that we sometimes will have a guy that, like, if he didn't get one in gun or bow, and, can come back and pay like a day rate or something and just hunt late season. Like, we've done that, but we were usually done by the second week of December, just because we want to give the, just kind of herd conservation, right? We want to give,
Yeah.
just give them a break. They've been hunted hard. And I mean, we always see bucks after the season. That's great for us to see. We find sheds that, like, hey, we know next year is going to be a good year. So that's kind of, again, Jason John's been doing this a long time, and he kind of knows where that line is between, getting enough guys and just let's not be greedy, and just, be conservation minded, and, for the herd. And a lot of guys too. Yeah. And trophy hunters too, or, trophy hunting for deer, just being selective, not shooting everything that comes by. That's all part of it.
Now, do you
So
guys do any type of land management on those leases? Are you building food plots, or
we do some we do some throw and grow kind of stuff, but not, it's not like some of these shows where we're disking up and planting and, massive plots with box blinds on them. Most of our stuff, it's it's natural. It's timber, and a lot of them are, tree lines, thickened tree lines, and or connecting big patches of timber. And man, those are travel corridors for those bucks, especially rut. I mean, and it's not uncommon for, I had a gal from West Virginia. Her and her husband came out a couple years ago, and he's like, I want to kill one, but get my wife on, she has never killed a buck. And I'm like, all right, man, I'm gonna try to get both of you guys on deer. Anyway, had a kid from North Carolina, buck chasing a doe. He arrows him. He gets the deer. The doe scampers off, she's living in this draw. I go in, I get him, get the deer out, and I tell the gal from West Virginia, I said, I know where I'm putting you tomorrow. And this was day 3. She's like, well, I'm ready for, a change of scenery. And anyway, put her in there, and 8:15 the next morning, my phone rings. And usually when the phone rings from one of my hunters, that's a good sign. I got one down. I hit one. I'm like, is he
so
down?
is this
It's
kind of
dead.
hoity-toity place where you're gonna gut their deer for them, or do they do that themselves?
No, well, usually what we like, Brandon, I don't even remember the last time I gutted a deer. I'm going to be honest with you, dude.
Yeah.
I go in there on the quad, we grab them, load them up, bring them out, get them right to the barn, and I string them up, and I just fillet them. I just debone the whole thing. I don't even take the guts out anymore, unless I'm going to be where I'm not going to get around to it for a while, or we've got, you know, we got, 10 of them sitting there we got to do, but yeah, that's the way to go for
You've
me.
reached
So,
another level.
Man, I would like
yeah,
to
I
see that
just
process.
work smarter, I guess, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's unless I gotta, I mean, I shot one a few years back, way back, and I gunned it in the creek. And plus, I don't want to bring, especially if I'm bringing guys out there. I don't want somebody sitting in a stand and they're looking at a gut pile, 40 yards away either. So I'm kind
Yeah.
of, a lot of people have kind of mixed opinions on, is a gut pile going to scare deer away or isn't it? But I don't know. I get my philosophy is to try to not disturb the land as much as possible. There's as
Yeah.
little as possible. Get in there, get the deer in, out, take the hunters out. But yeah, then I'm like, where's your cooler? I
But my
skid
thought on the
over there.
gut pile is it's not that the gut pile scares the deer; it's the predators that the gut pile attracts.
There's
It's
that.
bringing coyotes around. Those coyotes are leaving scent.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
so you don't want to have like a coyote feeding station where you're trying to kill deer.
Right.
Uncle Steve's chiming in.
I just
He's
saw that.
he's declining the deer I offered him. But
We should post that picture up on the Facebook, on Instagram and Facebook.
all right. So I showed him another one though. I got this deer at my house. He's incredible. I saw him the other morning before work. I was standing outside letting the dogs out, and out beyond the pond, a little buck came out of the woods, and then another one came out of the woods, and it's all picked beans now. They started sparring and just messing around like two little kids wrestling. I'm just standing there drinking my coffee, letting the dogs take a piss, watching this go down in my backyard. Gotta love it. And then they start looking down towards where my redneck is. I can't see down there. It's behind the trees. Then all of a sudden that buck that I've got so many pictures of this buck just comes prancing across the field. Looked like he was like trying out for a reindeer show or something, just prancing. And his rack has got to be it's got to be 20 inches tall, and it comes together like point to point. It's just a crazy triangle on top of his head. And I thought I wouldn't shoot him just from looking at the pictures. But then I saw him in person. It's like I changed my mind pretty quick. It's monstrous, a monster 8-pointer. It just, I mean, the inside spread from like tip to tip is probably 2 inches.
Yeah, it does look like it comes together and just attaches at the top.
Yeah. Back to food plots. So I really want to get into that. That's a next step thing for me. I did what you talked about, Dan, the throw and go this year. And I did 2 plots on one property where I went to Tractor Supply and bought the bags of stuff. Pretty much did the same process in 2 places. And then here at my house, when I was at the Archery Trade Association show, the ATA show a couple of years ago, the guys from Domain gave me some jars of their seed, and I put that out. Same thing, just kind of skinned the dirt with a mower as low as I could mow it, sprayed it, waited for a rain, and then I got one of them hand seeders, those bag seeders, walked around, spread it out, and it's unbelievable. Looks like I'm a professional food plot maker down there. The one on the other property, the weeds just took it right back over, and it just looks like fescue. But that Domain stuff, man, I'm a believer. So I really want to get into the process of disking it, because I've got probably 5 or 6 more acres that I would like to do on that other property where Uncle Steve's deer is waiting for him.
Well, and looking at what you plant too is part of that equation too, right? And it's like I know that, like, what is it, like, why is it wild turnips? Like, there's something, I think it's turnips. They just go
Turnips, they love turnips.
Right, and they're like a late. Now I've heard it's a great late in the season, food item.
And that's what I've got, some of those down here. When I lived in Montana, I watched deer lose their minds over sugar beets. And I've not heard of too many people trying to plant those here. I know some people have, but in eastern Montana where I was living, whitetails don't get nearly the respect that they get where we live now. It's all mule deer for the residents out there. A few people, I mean, the transplants that have moved out there, maybe, but they call them yard rats and things like that. And they destroy those fields. They'll get on a sugar beet field. There'll be 100 whitetails on a field. Um, I wonder about planting those too.
Yeah.
But I'd like to get the disc. And Eric Call, Superior Insulation, he worked with Paul Hollis. We need to get Paul Hollis back on the show too with PH Outdoors and his planting machines. So Eric's got one of those now. And I think I can work with him to get these food plots planted much, much better.
Yeah, because I know down on the property that I'm hunting, there was a big field of just like CRP that they let kind of native grasses and grow out, and then they mowed lanes down through there that all come into like a big circle in the center where my stand is kind of in the tree line. And I know Damon down there was planting everything from winter wheats to the radishes to quite the mixture. So this is the first time I'm gonna hunt over a food plot, so I'm kind of excited to see how that opening weekend goes.
You know, there's stuff that farmers can do. You know, where we're at in Southern Illinois, it's mostly soybeans and corn, right? Are the main, you know, food crop there for the farmers. And any soybeans that are left standing, even cut soybeans fields, that's late season, that's money, because those are just that's a high protein, you know, item that after the rut, those bucks are they are trying to just replenish their, you know, their reserves, and just anything that's high protein. So any properties that we have that are in beans are always that later season, that's going to be money. But even we had a farmer a few years ago, he left when they took the corn out. Corn's usually out by gun season. So right around Thanksgiving, they harvest the corn. And he had left a couple rows all the way around the edge of the fields, like along the timber. And man, oh man, was that property was one of the best ones that we had that season, because it just something that simple gave the deer just like they were just a little bit at ease. It was almost gave them, like, if they're coming out of a tree line, they can like stage there. They can transition if they're going to come out into a field and, you know, and feed. It just, for whatever reason, we took a lot of deer off that farm that year. I don't know if he did that on purpose, or maybe he just forgot or ran out of gas on the combine. I don't know what happened, but man, did that work to our advantage.
Yeah. Dan, I guess we should probably tell people how we got to know each other and a little bit of your backstory. Besides being a part-time deer hunting guide, you've done a lot of cool things. So we met through the Association of Great Lakes Outdoor Riders. We were kind of going through leadership roles at the same time. Went through the board of directors together. I was a president. You were a president. Had a lot of the same friends. It was just a really cool group. You know, I think all organizations kind of change with time, and it's kind of like there's a new group now. You go back and some of the old guard is there, but it's amazing how many people aren't. And anyways, it was maybe a 10-year run. That was a hell of a run.
Yeah,
and
it was
couple different jobs that you had through that. So yeah, talk about your outdoor industry involvement, what you've done professionally. I mean, when I met you, you still were with the Gammon group.
Yeah.
Take it from there.
Yeah, I had, you know, it's funny, when I had got into, when I joined Aglow, I was running a marketing agency in Chicagoland, and the guy named Don DeGina, who was a member of Aglow, had a TV show, Illinois Outdoors, and just befriended him, and I started co-hosting a radio show out of Morris, Illinois, and we'd have a group trip up to Minnesota that we'd bring listeners up to. And anyway, he really, well, he
Where did you go? Where did you go?
we went to Mille Lacs. We stayed at
Oh,
Eddie's up in Mille
because
Lacs.
Shags does that with Ballard's Resort up on Lake of
Ballards.
the Woods.
Ballards. There you go. And anyway, so Don said, he's just like, hey, you know what? You ought to, once you start writing, like you hunt, you fish, you're doing it, man. You're living the outdoor lifestyle. So I started writing, I got published, and then I joined the Glow, and Kurt Hicken came. Josh Lance asked me to give a seminar. So I'm like, okay, my first conference, I gave a seminar, and Kurt Hicken comes up, grabs me after the seminar. He's like, hey man, you got to be on our board. You heard you talked real fast, and
Yeah,
good dude. But
he was a
man,
great dude.
a great dude. And just the people that I met through that organization really just immersed me into the outdoor industry so much that I ended up selling my company and went to work for a company called Clam Outdoors, ice fishing company, and moved to Minnesota. And yeah, Brandon, you and I, we served on the board at the same time, and we just did some really great stuff, I think, for that organization, and to see kind of how media has changed over the years too.
Oh
How
yeah,
like how pro staff have started to maybe lose some of their influence, and like the age of influencers kind of has been ushered in, and technology and the digital age has just really just changed everything. But
dude, I tell people that it was like starting an outdoor writing career when we started it was like showing up to the bar when the song Closing Time was just starting to play. And like everybody's just raging, and you like come into the party and it is just like
right,
it's at the peak, and everything is just that outdoor industry is blown up. It's become a thing, and then all of a sudden, poof, it was just over. It's
yeah,
like as soon as that song ends at the bar, they turn the lights on and kick everybody out. So you go from like all pumped up and it's the greatest to like, all right, everybody out. This is over. Party's over. No more.
Now you got to try to
And
cut your thumb off to get likes on Facebook and
that's right.
Instagram.
yeah,
Yeah. Got to
that's
do my
changing
part
tactics, man.
doing my part for the gram.
No, it was that was awesome. And it again, I'm still an active member. I kind of took a step back, but but yeah, I've written for a variety of publications, and I'm passionate about it. But what I love about being an outdoor communicator is just sharing my knowledge, and experience, and just like we're doing today, man, we're just telling stories,
Yeah.
we're talking about our experiences, and with the goal that somebody listening is going to take something away from this, and I give seminars at sports shows every year, and I ramble on for 40 minutes, and then I'll leave the last 20 to a half hour to like Q&A. Like, what do you guys and gals want to know? Like, pick my brain. I've been hunting for 40 freaking years, man. Like, I've done a lot of stuff, and I love nothing more than sharing that. And even the guy, that's what I love about guiding too. Like, you know I tell every hunter that comes into camp, I'm just like, I want you to leave here a better, not just a better hunter, just a better outdoorsman, outdoorswoman, just a steward of the outdoors, to have that appreciation. And not everybody is gonna grasp that concept or get it, but that's my goal. I want somebody to come and have a great experience, regardless if they kill a giant buck or not. We guide turkey hunts too, so we do the same thing in turkey season. To me, it's kind of passing that knowledge on, and that's I love it. That's why I do
Let
it.
me steer this back to a glow a little bit real quick though, before we get too far off. I went to the conference this year. I hadn't been for 2 years. Life's been different and travel's been hard, and but I got to go back this year, and man, the organization's in great shape. I'm so happy to see that there's good leadership has stepped up, and there's some real high quality content producers that are there. Um, the Amundsen brothers are real good. Pat Camerton's still around, like, so it's good. And it still is an opportunity for people. If you're interested in doing what Dan and I are talking about, reaching out to the Association of Great Lakes Outdoor Riders. I mean, I tell the story all the time that my grandfather just consumed outdoor media and had me consume outdoor media, but he never told me I could produce it. Like that's where he failed to take that last step. And it was only another outdoor writer that I met that just told me kind of how to do it. He's like, yeah, you just do it. And I'm telling you guys listening that you can do it. If you ever have an interest in publishing, Missouri Outdoor Communicators, the Hoosier Outdoor Writers, Association of Great Lakes Outdoor Writers, there's help out there, and Aglow's a great organization, so you should check it out.
Yeah, and if you're out riding and you got some articles, you can always send them to us. We're always looking for content. I'd be more than happy to post them up on our website and stuff like that. If you want to be another unpaid pro staffer of Driftwood Outdoors.
And it's not just writing. I mean, photography, videography.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing about it. It's called Association of Great Lakes Outdoor Writers because in the 50s, when it was founded, there was a writer in every town for the local newspaper giving a fishing report on Saturday, and that just went away. So now it's content producers or communicators is a better way to put it.
Yeah.
Don't limit yourself to thinking you have to be a writer.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it really is, you know, I hate to use the cliche, you know, we're like a family, but man, it really is like the friendships that, you know, that I've made there. I mean, when you and I met, I remember, you know, having a drink by a fire on an ice fishing, you know, trip, a little trip up on Lake of the Woods. Remember that? And just future and like what the stuff that we're gonna do, man. And like, and here we are, I'm on telling deer stories on your podcast 10 years later, man. It's just like
that's cool.
That's how cool that organization is. And Aglow, you know, you mentioned some of these other ones too, and those are great. But you know, my heart, you know, Aglow is my home, man. That's
yeah, for sure.
And I you know, I made so many friendships, and you know, the Smith brothers and you know, been hunting out to their place in Indiana. Just these, you know, you forge these friendships and professional connections too. That's the other thing. Just the networking part of it is just how many doors have been opened. And I'm a perfect example too. You know, when I went from running an agency to wanting to get a job in the outdoor industry, and then I was working for the biggest ice, you know, global leader in ice fishing, you know, a few years later. Like that's how impactful that can be. You know, I would joke with people too. I'm like, you know, what they didn't tell me when, you know, I wanted a job in the outdoor industry was that, you know, you actually get to hunt and fish less.
Yeah.
When you're working for it, but you know, your job becomes your you know, your passion becomes your job, I guess I should say, which is really cool for so many people, especially young people, you know. And that's the other thing we did in the Glow too, was get young people engaged. You know, you're making a great, you know, plug here for the organization and for people that are thinking about this, you know, as a career or whatever. That's what it's all about.
Or a side hustle. I mean, that's what
side hustle. That's how I got into it.
That's what it's been for the rest of us. I mean, that's what it is anymore for most people. The people that are full-time outdoor communicators today work for conservation agencies like the Department of Conservation or the Indiana DNR, you know, or they work for a conservation organization. There are still a select few magazines and platforms out there that aren't, you know, corporate or organizationally controlled, but not many.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
To touch real quick, we always got to give a shout out to Bobby Whitehead, the Bob Father, when we can. And he was the oracle for me when I went to Aglow, you know, and you know, I had an opportunity. You mentioned Kurt Hicken.
Yeah.
It was to think of like a National Lampoon's road trip with the Bob Father driving, Kurt Hicken riding shotgun, me in my mid 30s and Thane Smith in his late 80s in the back seat of the car, and we roll out to the Black Hills for an Aglow cast and blast together. Like Thane Smith was this just early pioneer of public relations for Coleman, the RV industry, just an amazing man. And here I am, you know, just getting started, and he wasn't with us many years after that, and we're sharing a room at a Motel 6 somewhere along. I remember staying in a Motel 6, and Bobby and Kurt were just smoking heaters the whole night, and Kurt always had to have chicken wings.
Just
Um, just good people, man. And Bobby, he's like family to me and has been and always will be. You talk about it being a family, but then for a relationship like that to come about as well, it's super special.
yeah.
He's one of the greatest guys.
It's and the other side of that too is the partnerships with the outdoor brands, the corporate side, the relationships and how much, those folks, as marketers and salespeople, that count on, getting the word out about their product and why they do it and why it does what they say and why people should buy it, right? Outdoor communicators are just a key part of a lot of those big brands, their media mix.
Well,
So,
that's another thing, man, that was unbelievable during the rager at the end. I mean, when you would go to those events, and it was, if you've ever seen on TV where like Hollywood elites go through a room and they just give them fancy watches and they give them fancy sunglasses and whatever just to wear their stuff. That's what it was like. I mean, you just go down the line and it was, here, have a Plano gun case. Here, take 2 fishing rods with reels. Grab
yeah,
a bag, put as many lures and lines and as you can put in there. Grab, it was Thermacells. Like Thermacell made it rain. I still give Thermacells away for Christmas.
yeah.
And
What a
now
great product,
that's,
though. I mean,
oh, it's one of the best products ever. One of the best products ever. And it's a good marketing campaign to inundate the right influencers with them, the right
yes,
people, with them. So I mean, it's pennies on the dollar
yeah,
compared to paid advertising.
yeah. And I
So,
love, and I loved when I got a product and to believe in it, to use it. I love talking about it too.
well, we do a gear review in every episode because
It,
it's fun. It's fun. That makes you think every week about something that you use that you actually like.
but that adds
So,
value to the to the outdoorsmen and women too, who isn't always looking for something to keep the bugs off them or to help them see deer better or stay comfortable in a stand. Like that is just, it's you know people could roll their eyes, but man, that's what the consumers want. So
well, hey, we haven't even talked fishing yet, and
um,
you're a big angler up there in Wisconsin. I mean, Minnesota,
Minnesota.
Minnesota,
Oh
and
no, don't at all.
Shags is a big Minnesota guy. So I've
I played
dabbled.
hoops in the Twin Cities, St.
I've
Paul,
I've, I've
Concordia
Okay.
dabbled
River.
in the land of 10,000 lakes. So let's talk some Minnesota fishing. I
Yeah.
was just up on Lake Waconia. I didn't
Okay.
fish. My friend Greg, shout out to the Iron Tap in Waconia. He and I were college roommates for a couple of years. Went up and did a Retrieving Freedom event with him. The guy has just got it made, man. He's awesome family, lives on the lake. It's beautiful. Just reminded me of what I thought living in Minnesota would look like. He walks to work in this like quaint downtown, owns a few restaurants, a bakery, an ice cream shop. So, have you ever been out to Lake Waconia?
I have
Have you
actually. When I was at
fished
Clown
it?
Outdoors, we had ice fishing. We took the Boys and Girls Club of Minneapolis out there as like a community service kind of thing. We're always doing stuff like that, and we're on Waconia one year. But there's
Is
just
it a
so
good fishing lake?
yeah. I mean, I don't know really enough about it. It's I'm in Buffalo, Minnesota, so I'm in the far northwest suburbs. I can be downtown Minneapolis in 40 minutes, but Buffalo Lake is 2 minutes from my house. And I bought my son Nate. I bought him a boat for his high school graduation last year. And man, oh man, that kid is just he's hooked. Pardon the pun, man. He's in it. So now it's cool because I'm like, hey, Nate, where are they at? What are they biting now? Let's get dad on some fish here, and he does, man. We hammered the pike all summer and a little bit of walleye here and some bass, but we have fun. But as far as just, I haven't even scratched the surface as far as like Minnesota and the resources here, the lakes. There's just so many great ones. It is an outdoorsman's paradise up here. Of course, Lake of the Woods is
I was gonna
Got
say that's your lake though, isn't it? Lake of the
That's my
Woods.
jam. And
Yeah.
Joe Henry, who was the director of tourism for Lake of the Woods, him and I are just fantastic friends. And so we've done media trips up there. I was doing some work for Border View Lodge, and basically helped blow up a walleye tournament in October when business started slowing down, and I brought in some sponsors, just a feel good thing, for anglers and fishing the Rainy River up there and the Lake Sturgeon fishing. Have you done that, Brandon? You've been
I have. I was with Jason Hauser and his
okay.
wife.
All right.
Caught a couple sturgeon.
So the Rainy River, like that, if anybody wants a bucket list sturgeon trip, Lake of the
Yeah,
Woods
that's
is the
neat.
place to go. Yeah, and it's cool. So
Just night crawlers on the bottom.
yeah, yep. It's just so a lot of and plus the walleye limits too. Like that is Minnesota it's like, and then ice fishing. I mean, that's a whole culture on its own. Like these
Were
are
you
like,
with me the time Joe Henry caught the 30-incher?
yes,
I thought so. Yeah,
yes,
that was amazing. Was it
you and
me, you
me
and
and Jim
Joe?
Zaleski, I think, were in a house.
Yeah, Jimmy Z.
Jimmy
Yeah.
Z and Joe is he's like showing us how the flashers, the electronics work. He's like, oh, there's one. Yeah, watch, you got to do this and this, and all of a sudden, boom, like a 32-inch for his
Yeah,
personal
32-inch.
walleye at a media trip.
Wow.
It was probably 12 to 14 pound fish.
Oh my gosh, it was insane. But that became one famous fish. That's for dang sure.
Yeah, it did.
But
yeah, everybody had pictures of that fish.
yeah, but
That whole area is awesome up there, man.
It
The
is.
fishing, the grouse hunting. So Shags is Shags is a pretty big local celebrity. He's a radio DJ here in mid Missouri, and he sells out a trip. People actually pay money to go fishing with this guy.
Fishing with Shags, that's what we call it.
They get on a bus in Columbia, Missouri, and they go all the way up to Ballard's Resort. And
Okay.
they do that there. So
all right.
Yeah, the former fiance, not the forever fiance anymore. We got married a week or so ago. She caught a 27-inch walleye this past August up there, biggest one in the boat.
That's a good one
for the whole trip. It was pretty exciting.
That's an open water? Is that an open water trip?
Yeah,
I'm assuming. Yeah. Do you guys ever do it? You ever go up there for ice fishing?
I've talked about it, and it's on my bucket list to do. It's just, man, that bus ride is hard enough to do in August. Like, I don't know if I trust those bus drivers to be driving me up there in February with like icy interstates and stuff like that. Like, I'd like to make it up on my own, but I don't know if we're going to do one of those trips yet. It's a 14-hour bus ride.
Ice fishing. I got lucky and slid into another dude's spot at Devil's Lake last year on this trip that my boss puts together. And I thought it was just kind of got lucky one year. That guy will get back in the rotation, but another guy dropped out this year. So I'm going back. My quest for the 15-inch yellow perch continues. I won a 15-incher on the wall, and I caught a couple right at 14 last year, and the guides wouldn't let me do it. They're like, don't do it. Don't do it. Get that. That's their way of making sure I come back. But that was a great group of guys. I can't wait to go back.
That perch fishing is fun. If you can get on the bite, man, oh man, you're just filling buckets, man. And
we didn't get that, but we caught some big ones.
Okay. Yeah. They used to have a train, Brandon, I think this was again back in the 90s, showing my age again, but from Chicago out, and it was called the Perch Express. I don't know if you remember that. And it would go from Chicago all out to Devil's Lake. Yeah, you get off, and you go, and they, I guess that was like the perch heyday, and I remember I wanted to do that. I never got around to do it, but I ended up when I was with Clam, had a media trip with Susie Kenner and Tanner Cherney out there with the Tourism Bureau, and they do a great job out there,
Yeah,
that's another great fishery. It really is.
What suburb of Chicago did you grow up in?
Joliet.
Okay, so I was in Crown Point. So you're a little further from the lake, but
yeah,
man, where we grew up, perch is king. Like in the Ozarks, it's smallmouth. In Minnesota, it's walleye. Like guys, right now, I got invited. Bob Kreitzer, that was on the podcast recently, the go everywhere in the world fisherman, Shags.
Mhm.
He's like, he's got his boat all ready to go perching. It's like, let's go over Thanksgiving. And so, man, but I went to shout out to Blue Point Oyster Bar on the square in Valparaiso, Indiana. Um, man, I got all you could eat lake perch. My mom, my dad, and my brother all got it, and they couldn't finish the first plate that they brought. I got 2.5 down. So, and I only stopped at a half because nobody would let me order a third plate because my mom was just take half of mine. And so I got a 0.5 portion. But it's
Perch
so good, man. Yellow
is,
perch in drawn, like lightly breaded in drawn butter. It's my favorite.
yeah. And that's one thing that when you come to Minnesota, it's taboo to order walleye. Like you can't go to a restaurant and order walleye off the menu. I found that out, when I first moved up here. Like, I'm like, oh, walleye fingers. Like, no Minnesotan can order walleye off a menu. You got to catch your own.
It's like
Now, how
that
many
old
years?
it's like that old Rapala commercial. Have you seen that where the guy comes over and has dinner and they're talking about how good the walleye is and he goes like, "Where did you catch it?" And then he breaks down and starts crying because it was store bought.
Oh, no, I don't see that.
And his wife was so embarrassed and it was this huge fight. They got up and left. And it was
I,
like, catch your own with Rapala.
I did have some friends from Minnesota over for dinner one night, and I cooked walleye from Illinois, and I didn't tell them it was from Illinois. So they probably would have left, took their bottle of wine.
Are
And left.
you
Oh,
a Minnesotan for life now? You staying
no,
there? Or?
no,
No,
I don't think so, man. I don't know.
no,
I don't know where I'm gonna end up. I don't know.
I don't either, man.
It's
Same.
I don't know. Maybe I'll come down and hang out with you for a while. We'll see.
Buy my house so I can go buy another one. It's a cool place, dude. So
Yeah.
Well, I want to get back to deer hunting because he made the comment about when he was doing all the sportsman shows that he'd do Q&A. So I want to pick the brain of a guy with over 40 years of hunting experience.
Do it.
Because I love telling this story too, because I grew up in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon, like kind of on the Oregon coast. So I'm used to big country, big mountainous hills, hunting timber and clear cuts and stuff. But I always dreamed of hunting whitetail. I grew up watching all the big buck 1s and 2s and 3s. And when I first moved out to Missouri, I was working at a local small Tom Foster Bass Pro, had a big liquor, guns, and ammo sign out front. So I was so excited. I was like, I'm going to go shoot my first whitetail buck. I spent my whole paycheck at Bass Pro on the grunts, the scents, the rattle bags, the doe bleats. And I got fooled by all these TV shows that you watched them and they're 30 minutes long. And the guy would be in the stand and do like one grunt and a rattle. And then suddenly this monster buck would come out. So daylight happens and I have a bit of ADD. I get bored very quickly. So as you can imagine, it was like rattle, 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 grunt, bleat, bleat. And I'd look around and nothing would happen. Then it was like rattle, 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 grunt, bleat, bleat. And then I just get bored to where I was like, bleat, grunt, rattle, rattle. It must have sounded like the craziest sex party type of fight. Who knows what was happening in this field? But nothing came out. I saw nothing, as you can imagine, and I had all the scents on me too. So let's go through, like, does a doe bleat work? Does a grunt call work? Can you rattle one in? I've never had success, but you always hear people say that they have.
sometimes
It works. It depends on the time of the year as to when these calls will work. If you're hunting on, public land and you're sitting there and you're hearing rattling, there's not 15 sets of bucks fighting at this particular moment right now, man. You just know everybody's out there doing what you just said you're doing. And so, I think grunt tubes, my personal opinion, that pre-rut is when they're just kind of like, they're getting amped up. They're, use that sparingly. I never used a big old grunt tube. I've got one that's kind of an O-ring. It sounds like it's a not as deep of a grunt. I've had a lot more bucks come into that. Sounds like a young buck. That a bigger one's going to kick his butt. So that's my take on that. I've rattled deer into, But for the most part, you can do more harm than good. You can overcall, you know. But you see deer. I've watched bucks. You know, if they're on a hot doe, you can do everything you can, and they just keep going. They don't turn. They don't look half the time. So do they hear you? Sure. But it just depends on the time of the year. Scents, cover your scent for sure is always a good way to go. Um, I do think the bleat, the fawn, the doe bleat calls. I always keep one of those with me. I've had does come in and right under my tree, and there's nothing better than, especially in the rut, than a live decoy. So
I think it makes a ton of difference too, just the individual buck and what's going on at the moment that you're
100%.
making that call. Like I've seen bucks crossing a field 200 yards away, got antlers out and cracked them together, turned them and brought them right in. I've rattled probably 10 times this year and haven't brought a deer in yet. So, I've seen it work enough to know that it works, which I wish I hadn't seen that because I would just leave them at home. One of my go-to guys, we could go on a diatribe of outdoor media, television shows, but we'll stay positive in this episode. So, positively speaking, I think Bill Winke is just the best guy out there for information on deer hunting and watching his daily updates during the ruts. He's just like a scientist about it, and he doesn't rattle. He says he doesn't rattle unless it's a very special situation. But I did see old Dr. Deer was rattling on his Facebook page and said he rattled in 5 bucks this morning. But
you said you're going to keep it positive.
Yep, he failed to say how big the pen was that he was rattling within. You know,
Here it is.
and he was
Well,
standing right in front of the feeder when it went off.
I am curious though, because I've never hunted with a decoy deer hunting. So is that, do you have a buck decoy? Is that what you put out there?
I don't
Yes.
hunt with a decoy, but
They definitely help when if you're rattling to deer and you're expecting a buck to come to the edge of a woods or to the edge of a grass field and look into an open area, and a mature buck doesn't see those bucks, he's not coming in to investigate. He's like, this is weird.
Yep.
This ain't right. I'm wheeling. I'm out of here. So a decoy really can. I mean, you go back again, love-hate relationship. You go back and watch some of the Stan Potts videos, like Dan keeps saying, the 90s, early 2000s. That dude was bringing deer in Illinois, 2 decoys. Philip Vanderpool uses a decoy all the time, calls it old sad daddy, old sad daddy. But yeah, they work, like, because if you can trigger them with the sound, then they see that visual and they lock in, and then they're like, oh shit, it's real. I've actually got a Montana decoy. I thought about taking that out. Those are those like roll up fabric ones. It would be a silhouette. I think I'm going to try that on my next hunt this weekend.
I never turkey hunt without decoys anymore. To your point, Brandon, I just think that when you're calling and they're just not seeing birds, they're just something isn't right for them, especially those big old toms. So I always take a bag of deeks for turkeys.
Yeah.
I think it makes a difference.
You too.
But,
All right, Dan, well, we're kind of coming to the end of this podcast, and we like to wrap it up. What you see here is an actual vintage bait bucket, and it's a fun little bit we do called the mystery bait bucket, where anyone can submit a question. Sometimes it has to do with the outdoors. Very rarely does it have to do with the outdoors, but it's a fun way to kind of wrap up the podcast. And if you have a question that you want to submit, you can email info@driftwoodoutdoors.com, or you can send us a message on Facebook, Instagram, Driftwood Outdoors, or make a comment in this YouTube video, Driftwood Outdoors TV on YouTube. This comes from Miles Becker. That's kind of deer hunting related. What's your must-have snack in the deer stand or blind while hunting?
I like the little pack of the chocolate frosted donuts. There's like the little sleeve of them. They have the white powdery ones, but also the chocolate. I've been getting those with milk ever since I was a kid. Now it's the donuts with coffee, but yeah, I've been hunting long enough I start every morning with donuts and milk.
I remember being a kid because that was so fun, like deer hunting with my dad, because he'd always stop at the mini mart and
Yeah.
he'd kind of give you free reign, to, with exception to get what you wanted. And I would always get the powdered raspberry filled donuts with a couple of pepperoni sticks. And even to this day, when I go back and we go salmon fishing or anything like that, I always grab myself some donuts and pepperoni sticks. But now that I'm on this health and wellness kick, like I'm usually just wasabi almonds or something like that. But it's kind of hard not to get honey buns either during deer season. Looks like we lost old Dan.
Well,
Well,
hopefully if he comes back in, there he comes.
Oh, and he's back.
Sorry. Thought you guys kicked me off for, like, oh.
No, I was like, oh, he heard me talk about donuts and pepperoni sticks, and he's like, oh, bleep this. We're out of here.
I'm out. Yeah, bologna sandwich is what my go-to is. So
Bologna sandwich, fried bologna or just cold?
Just cold.
All right.
I do love fried bologna though.
Man, I've never liked bologna. I've just never been a bologna guy.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
Shags, you?
No, I've never been able to handle the bologna.
So if you go a little further south in the Boneyard, Dan, to northwest corner of Tennessee, where Reelfoot Lake is, there's a town called Dyersburg, and that's where my grandfather's from. And we spent a lot of time down there when I was a kid, and they would get rag bologna, and it came in this like sock almost and hung kind of by the country hams. And my dad would buy that, and he would slice it thick and fry it. We'd have fried bologna sandwiches. Those were good.
They are
but
very
just the slimy stuff that comes out of the Oscar Mayer circle. No thanks.
Frying it is just it just tastes different. Doesn't taste like bologna, man. It's the way to go.
So now I'm curious. So do you put anything else on it? Is just mayo and bologna on white bread?
Cheese.
Oh, I gotta put some cheese
on there. Slice of Colby Jack cheese on fried bologna on white bread. Good to go.
All right. Well, we got a final final thought on the pod.
Well, good catching up with you, man. Thanks for jumping on and talking some deer hunting. Like you said, you have those friends from Aglow that just kind of a lifelong thing. So glad to catch up with you,
dude. I appreciate you guys having me on the show and giving a plug for the Boneyard and yeah, just telling stories and just to reconnect, man. So let's hopefully get the hunt together again.
That'd be fun. Absolutely,
man.
Yeah, tell everyone really quickly where they can reach out to you or even reach out to the Boneyard. I'll put it in the show notes as well, but just so people can find you.
Yeah, boneyardoutfitters.com. And then my outdoor writer website is danstefoutdoors.com.
All right, man. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time. Gear review coming up next.
Thanks, guys.
Into the podcast, the beginning of a gear review. Brandon, what are you reviewing for us today? He's
Milo's iced tea. It's deer camp time. Most people are reaching for the beers. This is my go-to. This is an unshameless plug. They should sponsor us. I drink one of these every day. Give me money, Milo's, so I can afford to keep buying your iced tea because I drink it every day. It's so good. This is the no sugar one, but it's still sweet. 0 calorie sweet tea. I'm sure there's something horrible in there that somebody's going to tell me about, but
anytime it's no sugar, they substituted that with some type of cancer-causing agent. I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
If I die from sweet tea, then I win. So
I caught a glimpse of that big jug coming out during the podcast, and I was like, oh, thank God he just poured it in his mug. I thought you were just going to take it right out of the jug while we're doing it.
No.
Well,
that's good stuff.
What's that?
Milo's tea's good stuff.
Well, for mine, I got to give a shout out to a local Columbia business, Minutemen Defense. It's a new gun shop we have here in Columbia. It's right off of Range Line. But I got to give him a shout out because I lost my father this year, and I got his 270. It's the one that I shot my first blacktail buck with. It was the one I always gave him a hard time that I didn't need any guns for Christmas because that 270 was mine, but it had a lot of sentimental value. I believe it was the my parents, the first gift my mom ever bought my dad was this old Remington 270, and it had been in the gun safe for I don't know how long. And I brought it in there for them to kind of just take it apart, clean it up. They took like the butt of it off and all the rubber, and they did just such a good job cleaning that gun up and bore sighting the scope for me again. So when I went out and sighted it in, it only took like 6 shots and I was back to bullseye. But it just meant a lot that they took the time. And he goes, I did some extra work. I know it's got a bunch of sentimental value on it, and I left some of the spots on there. I didn't want to make it look like it was brand new. I wanted to keep it looking like it was still had been used, and it just meant a lot to me. And it was really cool. And I look forward to that being my new rifle that hopefully I shoot a nice buck with this year. So shout out Minuteman Defense, the new gun shop. It's more tactical than it is like outdoorsy, but they're veterans, they're cool guys, and it's a neat little shop to stop in and check out.
Well, man, I hope you kill a giant buck with your dad's rifle this fall. That'd be cool.
It'd be pretty cool if I did.
All right, we'll see you down the trail.